The old house groaned as the wind howled outside. Rain lashed against the windows, each drop a tiny hammer against the glass. Inside, Sarah huddled deeper into her blankets. A chill snaked through the room, but it wasn't just the storm. The book in her hands, a collection of urban legends, spoke of things far colder. Her heart pounded with a mixture of fear and fascination. She skimmed the pages, each word drawing her deeper into the chilling tale of the black-eyed children. The wind howled louder, as if echoing the fear twisting in Sarah's gut. Tonight, the line between myth and reality felt dangerously thin. A sudden rap on the front door shattered the silence. Sarah jumped, the book tumbling from her grasp. Her heart hammered against her ribs. Who would be out on a night like this? The wind seemed to hold its breath, as if even the storm itself was listening. A second knock, more insistent this time, sent a fresh wave of fear through her. Cautiously, she set the book aside and rose from the couch. Her bare feet were cold against the wooden floor, the chills seeping up her legs like icy fingers. Hesitantly, Sarah peered through the peephole. Her breath hitched in her throat. Frozen in place, Sarah struggled to comprehend the words that had slithered into her home. The rational part of her brain screamed at her to get away from the door, to call for help. But fear, a paralyzing serpent, had coiled around her throat, stealing her voice. "Let us in," the voice repeated, closer this time. The sound sent a fresh wave of terror through Sarah, prickling her skin with goosebumps. She took a step back, her hand trembling as she reached for the deadbolt. A moment of silence stretched between them, filled only by the relentless pounding of rain against the windows. Then, a soft, chilling giggle sent a wave of goosebumps erupting across Sarah's skin. It was a sound devoid of joy, a sound that spoke of something cold and hungry lurking behind the door. The words, though spoken in a childlike tone, sent a shiver down Sarah's spine. Driven by a morbid curiosity, Sarah found herself asking, "Where are your parents?" Sarah's breath hitched in her throat. Terror flooded Sarah's veins. Her every instinct screamed to slam the door shut, to run and hide. But her limbs felt heavy, rooted to the spot. The eyes, those black voids, held her captive. With a surge of adrenaline, Sarah wrenched her gaze away and slammed the door shut with a resounding boom. Sarah stumbled back from the door, her heart pounding like a drum in her chest. The sound of their pounding echoed through the house, each thud a hammer blow against her sanity. She fumbled for the light switch, bathing the hallway in a pale yellow glow, as if that could offer any protection against the darkness pressing at the edges of her world. Her hand shook so violently she could barely hold onto her phone as she dialed 911. Dead. No bars. Of course. The storm. Panic threatened to overwhelm her, but she clung to a sliver of logic. She had to think, had to act. The pounding continued, relentless, maddening. But now, woven between the thuds, Sarah swore she heard whispers. Their voices, thin and reedy, seemed to seep through the walls, slithering under the door like smoke. "Let us in. We're cold. Don't leave us out here." Their words, a chilling symphony of need and menace, sent shivers crawling down her spine. The storm outside seemed to intensify, mirroring the growing terror within her. She tried to block out the sounds to focus on something, anything else. But the whispers followed her, worming their way into her thoughts, her sanity. Time lost all meaning as Sarah huddled in the living room, a prisoner in her own home. The storm raged outside, mocking her terror. Silence within, whispers and thumps chipped away at her sanity. Each creak, each rustle sent her heart racing. Shadows deepened, shapes danced beyond her vision. The incessant pounding on the door grated on Sarah's nerves. Each thud a hammer blow to her resolve. She had been huddled in the living room for what felt like hours, the darkness pressing in, the whispers slithering under the door, chipping away at her sanity. Fear, a venomous serpent, coiled tightly around her chest, squeezing the air from her lungs. But beneath the terror, a flicker of defiance began to burn. She had been backed into a corner, hunted in her own home, but she refused to be their prey. She wouldn't let them break her. An idea reckless and desperate sparked in her mind. She would confront them. With a deep breath, Sarah marched towards the front door, her heart pounding against her ribs like a war drum. The pounding on the other side ceased the moment she placed her hand on the doorknob, replaced by an eerie silence that was somehow more unnerving. Her fingers trembled as she unlocked the door, the metal cold and damp against her palm. Taking another deep breath, she flung the door open, the iron poker raised high. The porch light cast long, distorted shadows across the yard. But the children were gone. Relief washed over her, so potent it almost made her knees buckle. They were gone. Despite the absence of the children, unease gnawed at Sarah's insides. The silence, heavy and oppressive, whispered doubts into her mind. Had they vanished, or were they biding their time? The thought refused to be extinguished. She retreated to the living room, her sanctuary tainted. The book of urban legends lay open, tales feeling all too real. The storm raged outside, but within, a storm of doubt brewed. She had faced her fear, but the victory felt hollow. The first rays of dawn pierced through the gaps in the curtains, painting the living room in a soft golden hue. Sarah lay curled up on the couch, the iron poker still clutched tightly in her hand. The storm had subsided, leaving behind a world washed clean and sparkling. She cautiously approached the front door, her hand hovering over the deadbolt. Taking a deep breath, she unlocked it and stepped outside. As the days turned into weeks, Sarah tried to convince herself that she had imagined the entire encounter, The rational part of her brain clung to that explanation, but deep down, a primal instinct whispered otherwise. The feeling of being watched, of being hunted, lingered. The house, once her sanctuary, now felt oppressive, filled with unseen eyes and unheard whispers. Shadows seemed to move in the corners of her vision, and every creak of the floorboards sent her heart racing. Sleep offered little respite, her dreams plagued by images of glowing white eyes, and the chilling refrain of "let us in." She threw herself into her work, but the memory of that night refused to be silenced. It surfaced at the most inopportune times, in the hushed silence of her office, in the crowded aisles of the grocery store, in the fleeting reflections in darkened windows. Her friends noticed the change in her. "You seem distracted, Sarah," they would say, their brows furrowed with concern. "Is everything all right?" She would force a smile and mumble something about deadlines and work stress. But the truth was, she didn't know how to explain the fear that had taken root in her soul. One evening, while browsing the internet, Sarah stumbled upon a forum dedicated to unexplained phenomena. As she scrolled, her heart skipped a beat. There was a thread titled, "The Black-Eyed Children." The account sent shivers down her spine. People shared eerily similar stories of encounters with children with coal-black eyes. The details varied, but the sense of dread was the same. Sarah devoured the posts, her mind reeling. These weren't just stories. They confirmed her own terrifying experience. The black-eyed children were real, and they were everywhere. The world shrunk. Once bustling streets, filled with the rhythm of everyday life, now seemed fraught with unseen dangers. Every shadow held the potential for glowing eyes. Every whisper of wind carried the echo of "let us in." Sarah retreated from the world, her haven becoming her prison. Work became a chore, a necessary evil to maintain the illusion of normalcy. Friends, sensing her withdrawal, reached out, their voices tinged with concern. Sarah made excuses, her words hollow even to her own ears. She scoured the internet, devouring every article, every whisper of a legend surrounding the black-eyed children. Knowledge, she reasoned, was power. If she understood them, perhaps she could find a way to protect herself. But the more she learned, the more she realized the depth of her predicament. The walls of her home now felt paper-thin. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Sarah made a decision. She couldn't outrun the fear, couldn't erase the memory of that night, but she could control her reaction, could refuse to be their victim. She collected every book, every article on the black-eyed children and tossed them into a box. She wouldn't seek them out, wouldn't give them power by acknowledging their existence. With a heavy heart, she carried the box outside to the burn barrel. Striking a match, she watched as the flames consumed the contents of the box. She stood there long after the flames had died down, a silent promise hanging heavy in the twilight. She would not speak their names. She would not give them power. It was a fragile peace, but it was all she had. The silence remained. No more knocks disturbed the quiet of Sarah's evenings. The storm had passed. leaving a stillness in its wake. Life went on, a pale imitation of its former vibrancy. Sarah, once full of warmth and laughter, now moved through the world with a guarded heart. She never spoke of her encounter with the black-eyed children. How could she explain something so utterly beyond comprehension? The memory lingered, a dark stain on her reality. She found solace in the mundane, in everyday tasks. Work became her refuge, a place to lose herself. But even in ordinary moments, a flicker of fear would ignite in her chest. She often found herself staring out the window at the spot where the children had stood. The street was always empty, the houses bathed in the glow of normalcy. But Sarah could never shake the feeling that she was being watched. The black-eyed children, a whisper in the dark, a chill down your spine, a story told around campfires to frighten children and make adults shiver. But what if the stories are true? What if, lurking just beyond our reality, there exist things that defy explanation? Take a moment, dear reader, and consider your own life. The shadows that lengthen in the corners of your vision as the sun sets. Are they merely tricks of the light, figments of your imagination? Or could they be something more? The world is full of mysteries, of unexplained phenomena that defy logic and reason. But sometimes those walls crumble, and we are forced to confront the darkness. Have you ever heard a whisper of your name in the silence? A knock on the door when no one was there? And ask yourself this: if those eyes were staring back at you from the other side of the door, would you dare to open it?